I now call the meeting to order on January 14th, 2021 business meeting. Administrator Gary Schmidt, please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair. First, our staff support today, Christina Twilliger, Clerk to the Board, Stephen Madcore, County Counsel, Rich Marvin and Garrett Teague from Public and Government Affairs who are helping with the recording. Roll call, Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
Commissioner Shull.
Here.
Chair Smith.
Here. I will now lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
And to the republic.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, and justice for all. Thank you. We are holding this meeting virtually, and if you've joined us on Zoom app for this morning, if you are interested in providing comment, we will prompt you regarding how to do that when the time is right. However, right now, I'm going to address a situation about comments relating to Commissioner Mark Shull. On Tuesday of this week, I released my first statement, and I'm going to read that now. I acknowledge the harm and fear our community members are experiencing as a result of the horrifying statements that were recently revealed from one of our commissioners. I want to assure residents that I in no way condone or agree with these offensive statements. They do not reflect my values. Such statements are an attack on human dignity and have no place in government. Our role as commissioners is to serve residents, build trust, and create a safe and thriving community for all residents. Bigoted statements by elected officials undermine that work trust. The rest of the statement I'm not going to read, but it supports resolution on racism and diversity that this board passed last summer. Yesterday on Wednesday afternoon, I issued this statement after giving Commissioner Shull 24 hours in which to ponder the situation, and I released this. In support of the greatest good of citizens of Clackamas County, I have asked that Mark Shull resign from the Board of County Commissioners immediately. In additionally to that, as most of you have seen on the commissioners, there has been a paper released, and I know you can't see it, but it support of his resignation from 6 county-wide elected officials on both sides of the aisle. We have also have statements from our department heads urging Commissioner Shull to stand down, plus 21 deputy directors. Additionally, the entire Clackamas County legislative delegation has asked for that. With that in mind, I'm going to open it up for commissioner comments. Martha, you're in the queue.
Commissioner Shull, the issue we're facing here is that this county has done extremely good, worthwhile work in equity, inclusion, diversity, and it is making it very difficult for us to move forward. As you know, I consider myself an extremely kind person, and I try to understand everyone's viewpoint, but I think that your comments have caused irreparable damage. And with deep humility and sorrow, I would ask you to resign. It really is causing deep rifts in our community and in our ability to govern. So that is my statement, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Are there any other commissioners who would like to speak at this time?
Commissioner Fisher has her hand up.
Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Commissioner Shull,
I was very much looking forward to working with you. I had followed your candidacy, your public messaging for your for seeking this seat. I must say I was looking forward to the spirit that you ran your campaign, which was looking at quality of life for Clackamas County residents, looking at affordability, and really your official candidate Facebook talked about removing the divide and working towards good governance. And so it is with great sadness that I am also calling for your resignation. I do not believe that candidate Shull is the real Mark Shull, which is demonstrated through your statements on your personal Facebook page, which were hateful and full of bigotry. I believe that as I was deceived, the voters of Clackamas County were also deceived, and that they would not have elected you had they known of your true views. Who we are is demonstrated through our public policy positions and the decisions that we make. One of your first decisions as a Clackamas County Commissioner was to consider the appointment for the Senate district that Casey Jama was appointed to. You were the lone voice against the now Senator Casey Jama. And when I looked at your comments of how you referred to Somali immigrants, I can't help but wonder and question if your racist views is what informed that decision. I am very sad and disappointed. I hope that you will do the right thing. But if you do not choose to resign, I am calling on all community leaders and all voters, residents, political observers, media to do the right thing and work to remove you from office.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Salas, do you have any words?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This has been an unbelievable year, and the word pain comes to mind in so many different ways. So I just want, for so many people that are watching this, I just want to acknowledge that, or let everyone know again that I am dealing with a pain issue and a nerve issue that's creating a lot of pain. And so if my voice cracks, or I'm a little slow to speak, I apologize. So with that, it's been a very difficult week learning of these postings and these comments that were made. I have tried to respect the chair in our process this week and kind of remaining somewhat calm and trying to allow Commissioner Shull some time to regroup, assess, and explain or apologize, or anything to kind of address the situation, to answer the questions and the difficulty they were all dealing with today. So we have been asked to remain quiet, and today now we have really the first opportunity appears to actually speak to the issue. So this is my first opportunity abiding by the protocols that we discussed this week. I called Mr. Shull and spoke with him yesterday for the first time, and I expressed my disappointment and the fact that I obviously do not condone any of those statements. I do not understand them, and I express my disappointment. I feel and spoke to and suggested that Mr. Shull seek some advice and some counseling and some help through this. to navigate whatever decision he makes, how to navigate forward. I'm going to apologize because I have to speak to this. This is something that's very powerful for me because of my upbringing and my family. So my family came, all my family immigrated. My grandparents immigrated from the area of Turkey, Constantinople, Istanbul, in the part of the country where maybe some of these comments were directed to some degree. And so I have a very mixed racial family, and I experienced a lot myself, and had to defend my family members, I had to defend my friends, I had to defend a lot of people in my life. And I think it is with a lot of pain that I know people experience. I know that people experience racism, and I know this is a very complicated world. And I do know that through all of our experiences and the unique experiences, all of our soldiers who went overseas after 9/11 into that part of the country and that part of the world, to fight for our freedom, to fight for justice, and had to deal with the complications and the understanding. And we do not understand all of our different cultures and all of our different people. But I think the most dangerous thing is when we stereotype people. We cannot, shall not, should not stereotype. I too am asking for Commissioner Shull's resignation. I strongly would consider, or not consider, but I would strongly suggest he consider, again, finding or seeking some advice and some consulting along the way to deal with the understanding and how to repair and rebuild. And while all of this is all true, I don't mean true, but like all of this I have spoken to, I think there is a reality that this country was known. My grandparents moved here to the great melting pot. This country is known for its diversity. This country is known for accepting of all people, of all races, of all cultures. And that's what makes us great. I grew up with that understanding, and I had to carry that through my entire life. And I think that while here we are today with some irony that our strength is our diversity, I think that we need to continually realize that this is a lifelong education and understanding other people and other cultures. And so I hope that we can find a way to, number one, when we come across these situations, that we can find a means to help people like Mark Shull and others who have some misunderstandings or who need the help or the education to navigate this very tense, this very time, the pinnacle of probably our existence of racism across the world, in our country, that we got to figure out a way how we help people and how we educate one another and how we have some understanding and some compassion. While we can be very angry and very upset, at the same time, we need to find a way to rebuild. And I would strongly consider asking again, or ask Mr. Shull to find a way to deeply understand and find a way to deeply understand all of who he needs to apologize to in a very individual and powerful way. So I can say more, but I don't want to occupy a lot of the airtime. But I will turn it over back to the chair.
Thank you, commissioners, for your comments. I appreciate it very much. Commissioner Mark Shull, would you like to speak?
Yes, Chair Smith, fellow commissioners, I've heard and understand your concerns. I submitted a statement earlier in the week in response to the messages that came in on Monday morning. It's my intention at this time to continue to carry out the work for the people of Clackamas County. Thank you.
I'm going to move immediately to our County Counsel, Stephen Madcore, and have him walk us through the action this board needs to take for immediate censorship of Commissioner Mark Shull?
Morning, Chair, Commissioners. Sorry to have to talk to you about this situation, but as the board knows, as an elected county official, this board's authority on unseating a duly elected commissioner or other elected official is relatively limited. That power is really vested with the voters, and a recall petition would have to be initiated after the candidate or the elected serves in office for 6 months. What this board can do in the interim is censure one of its members, and that basically is a public admonition based on the conduct of the particular member. This board could enter into a resolution which would be passed and entered into the record, which would censure the member. It would set forth the basis for the censure itself. And it could also add for language calling for the resignation of that particular member, but you cannot force it. It is a basically chastising a colleague is what it is. The board would enter into a resolution. I have prepared one. I'd be happy to circulate it if the board would like to review it today during this meeting or at a later date. It is up to the chair and majority of the board on how they would like to proceed in that manner.
Stephen Madcore, I'm going to have you read the resolution into the record today. I suggest commissioners chime in if you want to make any additions or subtractions to that. And it's up to the commissioners whether they want to proceed with it. Now, censorship allows for what? Commissioner Shull can still attend meetings and he can still cast a vote. Is that correct?
That is correct. You could assign or not assign to a certain committee, task, liaison function, things along those lines.
Mr. Madcore, could you read that resolution at this time?
Certainly, Chair. Let me ask, would you also like me to send it to the full commission on email right now? Let me just do that first.
And we're going to take, and public out there, we're going to take some time to do this. And the public just needs to be patient with us as we maneuver through territory that most commissions have not been through.
I will mention that Commissioner Savas has his hand up.
Commissioner Savas.
Yes, thank you, Chair. While Mr. Madcore is doing that, I would like if staff could email me our resolution that we passed this summer on equity, diversity, this racism, the last resolution that we addressed this with. I think that needs to be the foundation of our discussion today. And I think somehow we need to weave that into the language that this county will stand firmly against any form of racism, and we need to convey to our constituents that this is something that we will not tolerate. And somehow I want to make sure we weave language into this resolution, and as a backstop, not a backstop, but as a foundation for the issue at hand.
Chair Smith and commissioners, I have sent to your work email accounts the resolution, which is remaining unnumbered, with the title, A Resolution of Clackamas County Board of Commissioners in the matter of censure of newly elected Commissioner Mark Shull. Would you like me to proceed and read it, Chair?
Yes, I would. And I hope that commissioners are reading along with you on the emailed copy.
Okay. Whereas
the
Clackamas County Board of Commissioners prides itself in serving as the governing body of an organization that provides a multitude of critical public services to more than 400,000 of its residents. And whereas in the provision of these services and our representational democracy, the Board of County Commissioners finds that it is imperative that these services be provided to all residents fairly and even-handedly without bias based on gender, race, color, national origin, religion, family status, disability, source of income, sexual orientation, including gender identity. And whereas Recently, we have learned of certain comments posted on social media by Mark Shull, a newly elected county commissioner. And whereas the posted comments are derogatory, offensive, insensitive, and racist. Whereas by these statements, Commissioner Shull has imputed to Clackamas County a reputation of racist, sexist, and religious insensitivity and intolerance. And whereas by these statements, Commissioner Shull has damaged the reputation of Clackamas County, both as an organization and as a governmental entity. And whereas Commissioner Shull's statements and opinions are detrimental to the trust and confidence of the residents of Clackamas County and the Board of Commissioners' ability to ensure the delivery of services to the county's residents. And whereas as a result of this conduct, the Board of County Commissioners has lost trust and confidence in Commissioner Mark Shull and his ability to continue to provide leadership. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners that the Board of County Commissioners condemns and denounces the derogatory, offensive, insensitive, and racist statements posted on social media by Commissioner Mark Shull. This resolution constitutes official censure of Mark Shull for his conduct described herein. And it is the consensus of the Board of County Commissioners that it is in the best interest of Clackamas County that Commissioner Mark Shull shall resign the commission post effective immediately. Dated this day in January 14th, 2021. Remains
Thank you,
unsigned.
Steve.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stephen Madcore. I'm going to open up commissioner comments at this time. Who wants to speak first? Martha? Do I see you in the queue? You're unmuted. That's my cue.
I just want to let everyone know how heartsick this has made me. I did have an opportunity to speak to Commissioner Shull about it. And as someone who has a mixed race family as well, again, I'm taking no pleasure in this at all. I feel as if I can pretty much weep every day and feel deep sadness that the only way I feel I can move forward is to support something of this. I would also remind all of us, from my background as a monastic oblate with the Benedictines in Mount Angel, that one of the thoughts we should continue to have is also to love one another and try to the best of our ability to forgive people, even if we believe that what has happened and what has been said is unforgivable. This is my Benedictine way of life. And I say this with all humility. And as I said, I would say that I just feel very heartbroken that we have been moved to do this to an elected official because we have no choice. So thank you for that. And I think we need to move forward as soon as we can.
Thank you, Martha. Paul?
Yeah, we in my 10 years as commissioner, we have had a number of situations in which the public has been offended by the actions or the words of a commissioner from time to time, and we have had to deal with that as best we can. We have had to explain to people our limited powers, that we can't simply remove someone from office, as Mr. Madcore's outlined, that we do have limited powers. I have always been concerned that, you know, the level of treatment or how we have handled each of those situations is done as fairly and as equitably as possible across the board. And this is certainly a unique situation. I don't think, I do not recall that we have ever been at this particular level, but I do want to recognize that we have not been consistent in how we have dealt with situations like this. And that consistency somewhat has bothered me a little bit over time, as it does today. So the other thing I want to say, Martha, thank you so much. You said a word that has been resonating with me this morning continually, and that is the word humility. We have to realize we are not perfect human beings. And we have to realize that with humility, that we are always learning and we always need to be sympathetic, empathetic, and help people and guide people through their misdeeds or through their difficulties or through their errors in life. And none of us are perfect beings. None of us are superior to one another. And I do know that Mr. Shull will be welcomed by a lot of members of communities and taken in with grace and try to help him through to understand maybe other cultures and situations. And I think that is a humane thing to do. So I think we have to, while being very firm and while recognizing all the hard work, we have done so much hard work. I mean, when we passed our first equity, diversity, and inclusion resolution, Commissioner Smith, you were on the board at the time. And I think we ought to all be proud of the work that we've done over the years to try to convey to our constituents that Clackamas County will not stand for this. So this is, I think, a fixture, the fact that this county has been taking such a strong stand over time, and we have to be consistent with that. And that is why this type of language, this type of communication is just not tolerable. It has to be dealt with. So I will, I saw the resolution. Thank you, staff, for sending me the resolution. I thought somehow maybe a more appropriate, I'd like to ask my colleagues if they would like to add any language to the resolution. And now that I think about it more, maybe perhaps it's attaching or recognizing or referencing our EDI resolution as opposed to the resolution we passed this summer. But I think we need to make a little bit stronger foundation for our action today as far as this resolution, that the foundation for that is that what we stand for, that I think that needs to be the symbol of this action here today.
Thank you, Commissioner Savas. Commissioner Fisher.
I appreciate all the comments of my colleagues, and this is hard. This is really hard. I do think that we need to act swiftly and decisively in censuring. I do agree that the foundation of which we do that is based on what Commissioner Savas is saying. Chair Smith was involved in initially, when she was a commissioner, in laying the groundwork for all of the work that we have done in Clackamas County.
Thank you.
We cannot afford to delay.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. As a leader, you will find that I tend to keep my emotions hidden. Today is my 8th day on the job as your chair, and I represent all of Clackamas County. It has been hugely difficult for me to navigate and maneuver. I am so thankful to the staff we have, the commission staff. I'm so thankful for Gary. They have dealt with my emotions that have been hidden from you and the public. My heart has broken in a million pieces. I have cried And one day, my heart was broken in so many pieces, I thought I was having a heart attack. And my heart has been broken. I have a huge agenda that I feel is for the greatest good of all Clackamas County residents, and nobody knows what that is. We've had 2 inaugural speeches have been canceled for not this reason, but for other reasons. People don't know what I'm about necessarily. They saw my campaign, they can go to my Facebook, they can go to the many white papers written on my website, and you can see. But my vision for Clackamas County is much broader and much encompassing. We will get to that later. However, this situation has been thrown at us. I have taken decisive actions after allowing myself contemplation and reflection. And as a leader, I tend not to offer up an immediate knee-jerk reaction on situations like this, especially when it involves colleagues, and that's why I gave Commissioner Shull 24 hours grace. And I appreciate you commissioners in allowing that also. We're all going to say things that we will regret. That's the nature of politics. Heck, I've said things I regretted in my public life as a legislator and a commissioner as well. And I hope we would offer forgiveness for everybody. I have no ill will toward Commissioner Shull. I was so looking forward to serving with him and accomplishing really good things with him. With that in mind, I will entertain a motion to either accept the current censorship, or I will consider a conversation to add any language or resolutions to it. Commissioners, it is up to you.
Thank you, Chair. I would just ask my colleagues maybe for a moment of conversation. I obviously am very flexible. I'd like to make sure that, you know, somehow, whether we embed it or simply attach it, but I would like to reference our EDI resolution, our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion resolution as the foundation. I want to make sure that we, again, convey to all of our citizens, all of our employees, everyone, that this is what this is what we're about. So we stand for. We will not tolerate this. And at the same token, I think we also need to realize, as we communicate with other cultures, that we have so much education to do, that we need to figure out a way to educate ourselves. I don't pretend. I feel we constantly need education about other cultures, how we communicate and understanding. And you know, I think spending some time contemplating between the words sympathetic and empathetic, and the difference of the words is, you know, one, you can sympathize with someone and feel bad for their particular situation, but to empathize is to be in their shoes and to have that understanding. And I think that is something that is through our walks of life, we all have different levels where we have those experiences. But anyhow, again, I just wanted, just for discussion, are my colleagues comfortable with just adding the EDI resolution as an attachment, or embedding some of that language even further, or are we happy with it?
Thank you, Paul. I would certainly consider that. Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, I think that we could embed it in the resolution, and Stephen, you probably would need to confirm that we could have a link in the resolution for an electronic copy to our previous work as the basis of what Clackamas County is. I see Gary has just sent us something on email.
What we could do, commissioners, is, you know, I would ask that you maybe allow me some more time I can cross-reference the EDI resolution and this current resolution. And there's a few other grammatical and typos in here that I would like to clean up, and I can get it to you by the end of the meeting, I bet.
Okay.
I am going to, I was thinking that same thing. If we want to continue with the rest of this business meeting, And Stephen, if that gives you ample time, we will take this up at the end of the meeting agenda and finish our business here today. That will give commissioners ample time to process, to think about what you want to do with this.
I'll get right on it, Chair, and if folks have any additions to it, they should let me know, but I'll circulate it as soon as it's ready.
Thank you, Mr. Madcore. Commissioners, we are going to continue with the bulk of the business meeting. And that includes public comment. With that in mind, I would like to remind all participants, including staff and all elected officials and members of the public, that Robert's Rules of Order will be enforced in this business meeting. The board welcomes public opinions from all points of view. We encourage the public to testify respectfully and adhere to our 3-minute time limit, because I have a feeling we might have some people out there who want to speak. As all opinions are welcome, one opinion is not more important than the other, because we have a huge amount of county business to conduct today. Christina, do you want to moderate this portion of the business meeting?
Thank you, Chair Smith. Now is the time for general comment related to any county business. If you have comment related to the county business, you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom, or if you're calling in by phone and want to give comment, please hit *9 now. We do have quite a few people in the attendees list, and I do see multiple hands raised, so I will just start off with the list. First person is Deborah Ottenberg. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, commissioners, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Deborah Ottenberg, and I'm a resident of Oregon City. The first thing I want to bring to the commission's attention today is the PSA about vaccine distribution that was posted to the county's social media pages on January the 7th. In that PSA, Commissioner Smith all but discouraged people from getting the COVID-19 vaccine, pausing to say, please remember, it is always your choice, whether you get the vaccine or not, regardless of employment status or any other status. Commissioner Smith has publicly announced her unwillingness to follow precautions to keep her community members safe in recent months, going so far as to announce her position on national news. Given the credibility issues these actions have caused, I respectfully request that the county use public health professionals to convey all information about COVID-19 and vaccinations. It is critically important that a large percentage of the population be vaccinated to achieve herd immunity and to avoid mutations that could render the vaccine ineffective. If we are ever to come out of this period, we need as much cooperation as possible. Our community members have made real sacrifices to protect each other. Please do not let our efforts be in vain. I feel as though I should apologize for being so distracted by other politics, both local and national, that our other incoming commissioners' racism and Islamophobia slipped by me. Then again, it should not have to be the full-time jobs of community members to monitor the Facebook pages of our commissioners to ensure they are not spreading hate speech. We should be able to have confidence that we have adults in charge, especially right now. Commissioner Shull, I am adding my voice to the large chorus of voices calling for your resignation today. My son-in-law is from Iraq. I read your vile comments about Muslims and immigrants, and as I did, I imagined reading them through my daughter's eyes, through my son-in-law's, and through the eyes of my grandchildren. While extremists of all backgrounds and political and religious affiliations exist, Mr. Shull, hatred is not a tenet of Islam any more so than it is supposed to be one of Christianity. You claim that Muslims and immigrants pose a threat to our safety, to our society, but your words are just the kind that inspired the likes of Jeremy Christian and of the foot soldiers of Tom Metzger. You, sir, are the extremist here. You, sir, are the danger. My son-in-law bears a bullet scar, and he carries the pain of losing several siblings in Iraq. What he does not carry is a heart full of hate. Your words make it clear that you cannot be trusted to represent the needs of your constituents without bias, and I call on you to resign willingly before you further stain our community. If you will not, I will do everything in my power to help escort you out through recall. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Next up is Chris Waller. Chris, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes.
Commissioners, it was less than a week ago that on a whim, I looked up Mark Shull's Facebook account. You all know what happened next. Once I saw the inexcusable, blatant racism on display, I knew I needed to capture it and show it to whomever would look, to expose the festering hatred and bigotry behind the facade. Those who are most harmed by Mr. Shull's hateful rhetoric, especially our brothers and sisters in the Muslim community, have spoken, and their voices were heard as elected officials from across the metro area called for Mr. Shull's resignation. Mr. Shull, it is time to step down. The people of Clackamas County have spoken. Now that you have been exposed for what you truly are, we will not tolerate your bigotry. Clear the way so that the commission can appoint someone who will truly represent every person in this county, and we can begin the job of healing the deep divide, the hurt and pain that your behavior has caused. Do the right thing and do it now. Do not subject our county to 6 more months of division and strife. Do not cause even more harm to the citizens of our county because of your ego and false pride. If you do not step down, I promise you, we will work for your recall. You will be removed. We will not forget what you have done. For those listening, I have set up a Recall Mark Shull Facebook page. Let's organize and get this done. Thank you.
Christina, I would like to address the first speaker that came on, a public comment. I couldn't get off of the mute button. She has, again, misrepresented my position with lies and disinformation, and I won't tolerate it. My very first week on the job, I put out a county-wide, statewide video on the vaccination procedures that the county is doing. I do believe that vaccinations are a choice. I would support also those individuals in Clackamas County who will make the choice to be vaccinated or not, because that is a civil liberty. Thank you, Christina. You may continue.
Okay, thank you, Chair Smith. Next up is Elvis Clark, excuse me. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi there. I worked on Mark Shull's campaign at the time, and I know he's a good person. I've seen him interact with other people with diverse backgrounds, and he seemed to treat them with respect and fairness. And so I'm really discouraged. But the comments that he posted supposedly on Facebook are very troubling to me. And but I know he's a good person in situations with one-on-one with other people, and so I think his apology is very sincere, and I hope it. But I can see that the recall happening. Another thing that frustrates me. I would say the equity question is really crystallized by this episode for me, and I now see that I need to really work on my own equity and inclusion. And I didn't give it that much weight before, but I guess I was kind of naive on this issue. Sorry. But I also am frustrated that we did not vet this issue, these comments before. We had 9 months of election process and nothing came up on it. And so I'm at a loss on both parties why this did not happen. And so I guess Commissioner Fisher explained why the stated platform was so enticing to me that I didn't really put in the time to do my own vetting of these blog posts, and I should have been more vetting, but I'm sorry. But I know I also like the forgiveness theme. That was very encouraging because we all make these kind of mistakes, and so and the platform that Mr. Shull or Commissioner Shull was pursuing, I think that a lot of Clackamas residents actually long for, because like DHM research last year indicated that for instance, that most of the residents in Clackamas County are disapproving of the amount of weight that Metro Regional Government has over our county, and we want to strike out an independence, a more
Mr. Clark, I'm
stressing the
sorry.
positive attributes of our county, and that's what Mark
Clark, I'm sorry that your time is up. That was 3 minutes. We will move on next to Melissa Earlbaum. Melissa, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Chair Smith and the Board of County Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here today as a Clackamas County employer and resident. As an employer and community member, I'm here to denounce the racist, oppressive, and discriminatory belief systems expressed by Commissioner Shull. Our employees, my neighbors, and fellow community members deserve to know that we will not stand for this. As the director of Clackamas Women's Services and someone who has spent over 25 years supporting victims of child abuse, elder abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, and human trafficking, I'm here to tell you that the hurt and harm your comments and belief systems have extended to the general population are even more dangerous for those experiencing violence and abuse. Victims of crimes like child abuse and domestic violence face enormous barriers and challenges to seeking safety, healing from trauma, and holding offenders accountable. In addition to all of these inherent barriers and challenges, they should never have to choose between an abusive environment and seeking support from people and systems that are represented by leaders espousing these views. But I can assure you that it happens every day, and it continues to happen when you perpetuate this dynamic. There will be victims of abuse that don't get help today because they fear they will not be believed, that they will face racism and discrimination, and that they will be potentially harmed more for coming forward than for staying in the isolation of abuse. It is my sincerest hope that survivors will hear our voice and know that organizations like ours and our many partners throughout the county denounce these views, that we are not represented by these views, and that we are always here to provide safety and support. Lastly, to the whole commission, some of my colleagues from culturally specific organizations and community-based organizations have shared with me that they're concerned and feel fearful to come forward and speak out against this for fear of retaliation or losing limited funding that they have. This is also wildly unacceptable. And I encourage you to continue your efforts, the ones that I saw this morning in the last half hour, to create opportunities for those voices to be heard as well. Thank you.
Christina, I need to take 5 minutes. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Commissioner Savas for 5 minutes, and I'll be back. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like us to continue on with the
I want you to continue. Commissioner Savas, as vice chair, will conduct the meeting for about 5 minutes.
Okay. We'll move on to our next hand raised, which is Rick Kaufel. Rick, you have, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes. Oh, Rick, you have, oh, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning. I am Colonel Rick Kofel, and I'm a retired U.S. Army senior officer. I have known Commissioner Mark Shull for several years. He is retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel who served in Iraq and retired from the Oregon Army National Guard. While in Iraq, he was a community coordinator. In this capacity, he worked daily with the local village, community, and tribal leadership to promote goodwill, trust, and U.S.-Iraqi friendship. For this outstanding service in Iraq, he was awarded the Bronze Star. Like many soldiers returning from Iraq, there were those that supported him and those that did not. The community as a whole had mixed feelings. This led to many soldiers having temporary, what I would call post-traumatic stress that takes time to recover and get out of that dark space upon their return to start thinking clearly and to forget or to get over the things that occurred in Iraq that affected them deeply. I believe the post that Commissioner Shull made in this dark transition period does not reflect his true feelings, but was a result of his recent experience in theater. Lieutenant Colonel Shull has always acted like a responsible senior officer and gentleman in my presence, and I have never heard of him making any rude, vulgar, or racial slurs. Nobody has ever complained to me or commented to me about any rude, vulgar, or racial slurs as well. I find it hard to believe that he would post such a comment on Facebook or make any such statement if he had thought about what he was writing and the effects that they would cause. We all have baggage from the Iraq War, and it takes time to think through what we did and what the results were. I am convinced, having talked with Commissioner Shull on numerous occasions after his return from Iraq, that he does not have any ill feelings for Muslims or any other group of people and is not racist or prejudicial. I do not condone Commissioner Shull's comments, nor do I understand why he felt compelled to make those comments. I passionately believe he should continue as the elected Clackamas County Commissioner and serve his term. If the voters desire a change, be a recall or at the next election, that is the voters' choice. As Commissioner Shull has indicated, his intent is to stay on the board. The Clackamas County Commissioners, as well as department heads and their staffs.
Okay, sir, we've actually reached 3 minutes.
Pardon?
Oh, sorry, we've actually reached our 3 minutes. So we'll move on to a phone caller. Now it looks like the last 4 digits are 4030. I'm going to go ahead and bring you over. Please announce your name and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Lori Kimmel. Master Sergeant, U.S. Air Force, retired. These are the facts. I have known Commissioner Mark Shull for 5 years. He is a retired lieutenant colonel who served in Iraq. He worked in community relations and retired from the Army National Guard. While deployed in Iraq, he was awarded the Bronze Star. He has never made any derogatory remarks or statements in my presence regarding race, gender, creed, religious groups, and I find it hard to believe that these posts miraculously appeared 2 weeks after taking the oath of office. It has the appearance of skullduggery. No one demanded the following commissioners resign for their actions: Ed Lindquist, illegal tree cutting; the Kennemer Lindquist spat, which was more than a spat, that almost became physical. They were never asked to resign, nor were they censored. County Chair Bernard. Last year, taxpayers had to pony up $26,000 to pay for legal fees for his ethics violation. He went without censor or asking to resign. I strenuously believe he should continue as a Clackamas County Commissioner. We should see what kind of a job he does. And in 4 years, if the voters desire a change, they can elect someone else to that position. And now I would like to address Commissioner Fisher's comments. I find them divisive, borderline bullying, and also a correction when Chair Smith said the letter from all Clackamas County state legislators. That was incorrect. It was all Democratic state legislators. And thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and it looks like, I'm sorry, Chair Smith, you're on mute.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. I cannot see myself and I don't know why, but thank you, Commissioner Savas, for co-chairing in my absence. Christina, would you please continue?
I will. We have one more hand raised. It's Tim Lesser. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Tim Lucier, a citizen of Oregon, resident of Damascus. Words are important, but actions matter even more. Commissioner Martha Schrader and Commissioner Sonia Fisher voted to take taxpayer money and give it to former chair Jim Bernard, who is convicted of multiple ethics violations. I testified before this commission during that time, and I asked them to reaffirm the spirit principles, the code of ethics, which never happened. There was no censure of Commissioner Jim Bernard when he said, "Screw you," to respected lawmaker Julie Parrish, who is also an Army wife, an Arab American from immigrant parents. The $20,000 that Commissioner Sonia Fisher and Martha Schrader voted to bail out corrupt convicted Jim Bernard was taken from the taxpayers, and that money contributed to the deficit that was caused last year. That money could have gone to COVID testing, and unfortunately the taxpayers had that money stolen from them. I think Commissioners Martha Schrader and Sonia Fisher should resign today for bailing out Jim Bernard and also covering for him instead of censuring him and calling for his resignation when he said, "Screw you," to lawmaker Julie Parrish. I demand that the board censure them today. I think they should do the right thing. And just this week, Congressman Kurt Schrader defended President Trump and said the impeachment that occurred yesterday was a political lynching. Insensitive, inappropriate language from Democrats and conservatives. I think we need to clean house. Unfortunately, this commission has 2 commissioners that are still on the board that are hypocrites and did the wrong thing. So I think today, if Sonia Fisher is going to use her commission seat to call for the resignation of other people and to seek their removal from office, if the citizens are going to seek the removal of Tootie Smith because she had a Thanksgiving get together or because she questions Kate Brown, then the citizens can do that. But I can also advocate for Sonia Fisher and Martha Schrader for defending corrupt Jim Bernard and saying he's a good man, Charlie Brown. Unfortunately, politics is full of hypocrites. And unfortunately, we realize that there's 2 hypocrites that weren't thrown out from the board. So I call on Sonia Fisher and Martha Schrader to do the right thing and resign their seats for taking $26,000 of taxpayer money and giving it to twice convicted of ethics violations, former chair Jim Bernard. I'm Tim Lucier. Thank you.
Oh, Commissioner Smith, can I respond to that?
Yes, absolutely.
I actually, if you hear the words of the meeting that we had, we also had issues with the previous commission about, legal bills and how we pay them. And I attempted to say to Commissioner Bernard, that was a tremendous amount of money. And I changed my mind over the weekend and came back and spoke with him. And I spoke with Commissioner Humbertston. And both of us convinced him to pay the charges because it was wrong for the public. I just want to get this on the record, to pay that kind of money. I struggled with my conscience over that weekend. One of the things I found out was that had I voted no immediately, it would have been a split vote and Commissioner Bernard would have gotten that money anyway. So the fact that I changed my vote and brought to light that piece of information that was not forthcoming really required him to pay that money so the public did not have to pay that money. I know that, as I said, other commissioners have asked for money. I was chair at the time. I was vice chair and was chair of that particular meeting. We did not pay the whole amount. We only paid a partial amount because I was trying to be fair, and that also bothered me over the weekend. And I've been called worse things than a hypocrite. So be it.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Commissioner Sonia, would you like to speak or are you fine?
Commissioner Savas
No.
actually had his hand up.
Oh, Commissioner Savas, go ahead. I didn't
Sorry.
see that. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I've had my hand up for a little while. I wanted to respond to one of the a few speakers ago with the last name Koufal, C-O-U-F-A-L. thank you for your comments regarding, number one, your experience in the military. Thank you for your service. I want to thank all of our military for their service, and including Commissioner Shull. Through this very difficult week, I recall an experience following the Vietnam War when I was in school, in college, when one of my friends had come back from Vietnam, served in the Army, had some very difficult experiences. And around that time, there were a lot of refugees from Cambodia and Laos. So we had folks coming from those countries, and one of those people registered for our class, and that person, there were just, I think he had flashbacks. I think he had some post-traumatic stress issues when he saw this particular individual, because maybe perhaps they're looking similar to a Vietnamese person. And we have to, I think we need to be somewhat compassionate and understanding that our experiences in life are all unique, and that we have to respect our military who have been through these and be more understanding. I have not had the opportunity, frankly, even at this point, because of COVID, to even be in the same room and shake the hand or congratulate my colleagues, Commissioner Smith or Commissioner Shull. With that, it's been difficult because of our communication, but I think we need to recognize that while all these things are not acceptable, that we need to find a means for helping people navigate back into society, back into the reality, and even those who have never served. We have to figure out a way to educate ourselves on how to deal with these different cultures and how to treat people respectfully, and not let some of our instincts interfere or somehow convey fear to others or be perceived as being racist. This is complicated. This is difficult. But again, I appreciate Mr. Kaufholz's comments. We have to realize that these things affect people, and they did this on behalf of our country. And we have to be, again, I think, somewhat compassionate and understanding, but we have to remain firm in our values, and our values are spoken to in our EDI resolution, and we have to remain strong. And if we can behave correctly, and again, with humility and being humble, figure out a way to be understanding, but at the same time be respectful and make adjustments in life, I'm hoping that we can navigate forward. With that, I will conclude my comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Fisher has her hand raised as well.
Yes, Commissioner Fisher, please comment.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Schrader for correcting the record. It is very important that correct information be shared with the public, and the taxpayers did not foot the bill for Jim Bernard's legal fees. He did offer to cover those himself. So that's my only statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Chair Smith, we have one hand raised, Rob Hudson.
Continue, please.
Okay, so Rob, I brought you over. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Smith and other County Board of Commissioners. As a lifelong resident of Clackamas County, I call for the immediate resignation of Mark Shull, who has demonstrated that he is unfit for office through a history, including recently, of racists, and not only racist, but also transphobic, anti-immigration, and anti-poor people social media statements. So there's much more than just racist statements in this. We cannot allow our elected officials to hold members of their workforce and citizenry in contempt based on race, religion, social status, or sex. To do so would be an anathema to the American ideals which we hold dear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. And Chair Smith, I do not see any other hands raised.
Thank you, Christina. We're going to close the public comment portion of today's meeting. And Gary Schmidt, will you please introduce the next item?
Yes, so we'll go forward with the agenda, the regular course of the agenda, Chair, and then later we'll come back to Mr. Madcore. So first is a public hearing, dissolution of the Shady Dell Water Control District. We have Jeffrey Munns from the County Council's office who will present, and we'll bring him into the room here shortly. A lot of people on the attendee list, so we're
Yeah, it took me a second to grab him, but I did bring him over.
there he is. All right, Jeff, would you please go ahead?
Yes, thank you. Commissioners, what we have today is a public hearing on the dissolution of the Shady Dell Water Control District. I presented this issue earlier in the week for a preview of what we're going to be discussing today. This concerns a water control district that was established on the Molalla River in approximately 1958. The reason it comes before you today is that this organization has not filed the required budget reports with the state for the past 3 years. So when that was brought to our attention, I undertook a process of contacting folks associated with this organization to understand the status of it, as well as review their records. That has been completed, and a board order was entered in December, Board Order 2020-84, in which a financial report of their activities was adopted and approved by the Board of County Commissioners. What we've discovered is that they have not been operating. All of the board seats are unfilled at this time, and the last treasurer and the attorney who formerly advised this body have the records and have been assisting us in understanding the status of this organization. The public hearing that you will have shortly is to determine under ORS 198-360 whether or not this organization is operating, whether or not it is needed, and if it's possible for a county service district to annex and perform the functions of the Shady Dell Water Control District. What you've received so far in evidence is that financial report, and I'd also discuss this with you at issues, and we'll do so again, that the board is vacant, it is not operating. From what I've determined, the members of this board and the folks who live in this district have not maintained it, in that it is apparently not needed. I'm not sure why, but it is a water control district that maintains a revetment along the Molalla River to control flooding. And that's about all that we know about how it is managing its affairs. I did contact the neighboring nonprofit organization, also on the Molalla River, to maintain flood control, and they were not interested in taking over the functions of the Shady Dell Water Control District either. Also received an email yesterday from the attorney for this district, former board, that he's ready to turn over all their records and has obtained a check up there for all of their assets at this time to turn over to the county. Also, if the board votes to dissolve the water control district, ORS 198-365 requires that this board establish a board of trustees to handle managing the affairs of wrapping up the accounts, debts, et cetera, for this water control district. And if there's any funds remaining, that money would be turned over to the general fund of Clackamas County, and all records would be turned over to the Clackamas County clerk. And so prepared a board order, a step to do so, that's also been attached to materials for the board's approval. And I would ask that at the end of this, any motion to dissolve the water control district also approve that order, so that the board of trustees can be established and these functions can be carried out. And with that, any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Commissioners, do we have any clarifying questions or comments for Jeffrey Munns? Are there any hands raised on Zoom?
I do not see any hands, Chair.
Chair, if you would open the public hearing, please.
Yes, I will open a public hearing and ask for Christina to moderate this portion.
All right, thank you, Chair Smith. Now is the time for comment on this specific topic. If you have a comment, you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom, or if you're calling in by phone and want to comment, please hit *9 now. I'm looking at our attendees list and I am not seeing any hands raised. So I think we're okay to move on.
Thank you, Christina. I will now close the public hearing. I will ask for a motion.
Chair, I'm finding the language here. One moment. Apologize. I move we approve the dissolution of the Shady Dell Water Control District.
Do I hear a second? Martha
Second.
Schrader.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Savas and seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Christina, will you take the poll?
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Shull,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye, the motion has passed. Thank you very much, Christina. Gary, next item. Excuse me, Jeffrey Munns has his hand up.
Thank you, Chair Smith. I would ask that this board also approve the draft order so we can establish the Board of Trustees and carry out the remaining functions. The motion as was prepared in the document here, the script did not include that language regarding the order, just that it be dissolved. And so the other functions would be also need to be required.
Jeffrey, I'm going to ask you to repeat that language and then I will adopt it as a motion.
Thank you. What it would be an amendment or a new motion to both dissolve the Shady Dell Water Control District and approve the draft order to establish a Board of Trustees to wrap up the remaining functions of the Shady Dell Water Control District.
So
I would
moved.
entertain a motion. Paul,
So moved.
do I hear a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved by Commissioner Savas, seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Any other discussion? Upon hearing none, Christina, call the poll, please.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Shull,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye. The motion has been approved. Thank you very much. Now we will move on to Administrator Gary Schmidt to tee up the next item.
Thank you, Chair. Next, we have several board discussion items. We'll start with the Department of Health, Housing, and Human Services. Richard Swift, the Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services, will present these items. First, item 1, approval of a revenue contract and business associate agreement with Care Oregon Incorporated for behavioral health services in the amount of $1,841,558. No general funds are involved. Rich, would you please give a high-level overview and then the board can ask questions. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Smith and board. So this contract that Gary just described is for $1,841,558. This contract provides funding for Behavioral Health Division to provide intensive care coordination for adults and children. So that intensive care, that package of services is going to focus on substance use disorder coordination, wraparound services, those types of services that are going to help people stay housed, choice services, and that's in terms of where they're going to be receiving their services, and then administrative support for Clackamas County residents. The contract is from January 1st of this year all the way through December, and the payer on this is Care Oregon, and there are no general funds associated with this contract. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Rich. Commissioners, does anybody have any comments or clarifying questions on this item? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
I move for approval of a revenue contract and business associate agreement with Care Oregon, Inc. for behavioral health services in the amount of $1,841,558.
Second.
Commissioner Savas has made a motion. Commissioner Fisher has seconded. Do I hear any discussion? Hearing none, Christina, would you call the poll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Shull,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye, the motion passes, and thank you. Gary, next item.
Next, item 2, approval of a sub-recipient agreement emergency shelter grant in the amount of $137,500 with Northwest Housing Alternatives to provide shelter services. No general funds are involved. Rich, please go ahead.
Thank you. This agreement provides Northwest Housing Alternatives with grant funds for the purpose of providing emergency shelter and services to approximately 48 houseless families to help prevent exposure to and to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19. So NHA will provide staffing, operation, food, hotel vouchers, and transportation services. And this grant is for the calendar year starting January, ending December. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions.
Commissioners, do we have any comments or questions on this? May I have a motion, please?
Paul?
I'm finding it here. I move for approval of a sub-recipient agreement, emergency shelter grant in the amount of $137,500 ESGCV2 parents with Northwest Housing Alternatives to provide shelter services.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Savis and seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Do we have any other discussion? Seeing none, Christina, would you take the poll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savis,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Shull,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye, the resolution, or excuse me, the motion has been approved. Gary, next item, please.
Item 3, approval of amendment number 15 to the intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon, acting by and through its Oregon Health Authority for operation as the local public health authority for Clackamas County, increasing the contract by $709,870.63, bringing this contract total to $11,657,373. No general funds are involved. Rich, please go ahead.
So this amendment is essential to adding additional funding for our COVID-19 local active monitoring activities. So essentially, this is assisting public health with its COVID-19 contact tracing and response. Public health has stood up and actually essentially created almost another organization related to contact tracing. We have as many employees that we've hired on a temporary basis to help with this as we've actually had in public health. And all of that funding and all of that hiring is being done through external monies from the Fed and from the state. And this IGA amendment is part of that revenue stream. So this is essential for us to continue what we're doing. And actually, this will continue funding through June and ending June 30th of 2021. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Rich. This extra $700,000+, is that federal CARES money that came into the state?
You know, I do not know. I can get back to you on that, Chair. I do not know if this is actually coming directly from the state, but my guess is actually this is an extension of the federal dollars that are coming to the state of Oregon and then being allocated out to the different public health organizations of the counties.
Yeah, thank you for that. Commissioners, do you have any other clarifying comments or questions?
Chair, I have just a comment with regards to the CARES Act funding and all these things. I think we need to be cognizant that we're going to have a lot of paperwork coming from us, and our staff are going to have to do a lot of extra work to recover all of these dollars, and hopefully we will be paid and reimbursed for all of those, and they'll be eligible. Of course, I think we all have concerns that there are administrative costs that need to be covered. We also have concerns that maybe there's some that we're going to get stuck with as well. But I just want to acknowledge that the hard work, or extra work, our staff have had to endure to try to recover these dollars and provide the services in these very difficult times with COVID-19 and last year and going forward. So I have no comments, and I'm prepared to make a motion.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Paul. Oh, excuse me, Rich.
I was just thanking Commissioner Savis for his words. It's really appreciated, and I know staff appreciate that acknowledgement. Thank you.
I would concur. Commissioner Savis, would you like to go with the motion?
Yes, I move for approval of Amendment 15 to the intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon, acting by and through its Oregon Health Authority for operation as the local health authority for Clackamas County.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Savis, seconded by Commissioner Schrader. Any other comments? Christina, would you take the poll, please?
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savis,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Shull,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, the motion has passed. Gary, tee up the next item, please.
Thank you, Chair. Item 4, approval of home loan documents with Green Line Affordable Development Limited Partnership for the Fuller Station Apartment Project in Happy Valley. Rich, please go ahead.
Sure. So what you have in front of you is approval to use home funds in a loan situation with Green Line LLC for their development on Fuller Road between Audi and Johnson. They're going to be building 100 units. There are 17 rooms in terms of single, 63 rooms in terms of doubles, in terms of 2-bedroom, and then 20 units that are 3-bedroom. And so the home funds are going to help them with architectural costs, engineering costs, and inspection costs. These funds will be paid based on the submission of paperwork from Green Line LLC to CD, verifying and certifying the appropriate expenditure of these monies. And the term of this loan is actually 60 years, so it's going to continue for the length of the project. And then at that point, well past any time I will be here with Clackamas County, we would receive repayment of those home funds. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions from the board.
Yes, Rich, I don't see a dollar amount on here.
The loan is for $950,000.
And that is from the federal. Clackamas County is then loaning it out to the builder. Is that correct?
Actually, it's going directly. So the way this project is structured, you have Green Line LLC, who is the limited liability corporation in charge of developing this project. They are the developer, to be distinguished from the builder, who will be contracted to the LLC to build Fuller Road. So I just want to be clear about that. So they're going to be getting these dollars. The Green Line will be getting these dollars, and then they have to certify back to us that they have used these dollars as intended, and then they would actually get the monies. They'll get it in 2 distributions. They'll get the bulk of the dollars, as soon as they submit their paperwork for this to pay for the architectural inspection and, planning. And then also they'll get then a follow-up payment of 5% once the project is completed.
Wow.
When I say completed, I mean built. And that means they've got their certificate of occupancy and it's been inspected and they have their certificate of occupancy.
Thank you, Rich. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? I'll entertain a motion.
So I do have one question. So Chair
Yes,
Smith,
Paul.
are you comfortable with this?
Well, I am now, and I wasn't last week. I pulled it from the agenda because we were certifying a promissory note of almost $1 million without an adequate explanation. I have had an adequate explanation. Thank you, Rich Swift, and other board members for allowing me time to do that. I think I'm okay with this. Paul, if you want to make a motion, if you're okay with it.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone was comfortable. I move for approval of home loan documents with Green Line Affordable Development Limited Partnership for the Fuller Station Apartments project in Happy Valley.
Second.
Commissioner Savas has made a motion and Commissioner Schrader has seconded that. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Christina, please call the poll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Shull?
Aye.
And Chair Smith?
Aye, the motion is passed. Gary?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rich. Thank you, Chair. Next, we are moving, we're still on board discussion items. Next is for the Department of Human Resources. Item 1, approval of the 2021 agreement amendment with Delta Dental for administrative services for Clackamas County's self-funded dental benefits with an estimated fiscal impact of $4,414,282.45, which is in the Human Resources budget and is funded by departmental and retiree contributions to the self-funded dental program. We have Christy Durham, who is Benefits Manager in Human Resources, who will present. Go ahead, please, Christy.
Thank you, Commissioners and County Administrator. We We met with the commissioners in October and shared the information on the renewal for all of our health plans, and focused also on the Delta Dental. We've got the document now. The plan document has been finalized for the amendment for the plan year, and that is what we're bringing forward to you today for consideration. I would just like to find out if there are any questions before I go in. I don't know if it would be helpful to have some background from that October meeting.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Christy Durham? I don't. I will entertain a motion.
I move for approval of the 2021 agreement amendment with Delta Dental for administrative services for Clackamas County's self-funded dental benefits.
Second.
Commissioner Saffis has moved the motion. Commissioner Fisher has seconded that. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Christina, would you please call the poll?
Yes, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savis,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Shull,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye, the motion has passed. Gary, with your end of the discussion items, up next is the consent agenda.
Yes, and if I may, Chair, on the consent agenda, all of these items, commissioners, you have vetted and approved either at issues yesterday, 2 days ago, this Tuesday, or last week. So these are all items you have already heard briefly, either this week or last week. So this is now on your consent agenda today. Thank you for that preamble, Chair. So Christina, would you please read the consent agenda?
Yes, for consent agenda today, business and community services, approval of a Concord and Gladstone master plan reports, and approve staff to work with the community and consultants to complete design and engineering for the Concord property and Gladstone library. Under Department of Transportation and Development, authorization to purchase quantity 11 Dodge vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approve request to apply for rental assistance program funds from Treasury Department. And that is your consent agenda.
Can I have a motion?
Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I would like to, I guess out of sake of trying to keep this as clean as possible, and I apologize because this is my responsibility because I had a medical appointment on Tuesday and I missed part of this discussion. So I'm going to just ask to pull item B, Department of Transportation and Development, authorization to purchase 11 Dodge vehicles, to pull that from the agenda for discussion. And then I will move to approve the amended agenda as presented.
Excuse me, Mr. Savis. Your request to pull one item needs a concurrence of a second commissioner, I believe. Do I hear any other commissioner?
I will support that for the sake of.
Okay, Commissioner Savis, you may now proceed.
Okay, would you like me to just make a motion to approve the remainder of the agenda or the consent agenda?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so I move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Savis has made a motion to approve a revised agenda minus item B from the Department of Transportation. Martha has seconded that. Any other further comment on this? Seeing none, Christina, would you call for the poll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savis,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Shull,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye, and the motion has passed. Gary.
So we'll then go to a discussion item for item B, Transportation and Development, authorization to purchase quantity 11 Dodge vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. There's no staff present because we were not notified, but Commissioner Savis, do you have questions or concerns?
Right, and okay, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Again, I apologize. I had a doctor's appointment during the time this was discussed on Tuesday. I initially asked to have it pulled for discussion. And I know there's a lot of background and material that I asked for that, probably will take some time to develop and bring forward. But I just wanted to speak to this 2 minutes so people can understand one of my concerns. So during the budget process last year, the sheriff came to us and we were discussing part of the fleet expenses and cost. And discussions ensued with regards to the longevity of vehicles and how different agencies with different vehicles have a different longevity and turnover rates. For example, if a particular city is taking a vehicle and they're getting 200,000 or 300,000 miles out of that vehicle, we are really getting the maximum benefit. It's the term used is utilization, the maximum utilization. And I noted that in discussion that the sheriff had described to us that on these Dodge vehicles that they've had some engine problems with them and that they don't really get the longevity out of them. So I have, have reached out to some of our fleet staff, and because of COVID and all the complications, we haven't gotten to the point of getting some of my questions answered. But I just wanted to point out, I'm not going to stop this if the board's willing. I don't know if this is time urgent, but the point I'm trying to make here is, or concern is, if we're not getting the longevity out of a vehicle because of a flaw in the design of the engine, which is the reason there's these engine failures, then I'm just questioning why we continue to purchase vehicles with the known problem.
Paul, I would like to address that issue if I may.
Sure.
Yeah, we had a briefing from Dan Johnson, the department head of this division. And he has said with these new vehicles, that is not a problem. If there was a problem, it's been rectified and he feels comfortable with purchasing these vehicles. This item does not come up until, Gary, what was on the 21st? This item is time sensitive, isn't it?
It is time sensitive. It really needs to be approved today, Commissioner.
Well, with that in mind, I'm inclined to make a motion that we vote on this item separately, and I will move that we go ahead with number B, the authorization to purchase 11 Dodge vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
The motion has been made by Chair Smith. It has been seconded by Mark Shull. Any other comments or questions from commissioners?
Yeah, I just want to say that the research that I have found, I do have remaining questions. I'm not going to stop this. I will not vote against it because I have got adequate information. But the information I have thus far is that this problem has not been remedied at the factory, and so I will just simply abstain for the lack of information. And that's not staff's fault. That's my fault.
Okay. Paul, thank you for this and thank you for raising the red flag. I would suggest that you work with the department to either get your questions answered or possibly do whatever that you and they need to do to make sure that your comfort zone is there.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, if the problem is remedied, then hopefully we can get equivalent life and mileage out of these vehicles like other agencies are.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I appreciate your insight in that. Any other commissioner comments? Seeing none, I'm going to call Christina for the poll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Savis?
I abstain.
Abstain, okay. Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Shull?
Aye.
And Chair Smith?
Aye, the motion passes 1-0-1. Is that what I want to say?
No, it would be 3.
I know it's 4. It's
Yes.
4-0-1 is what I
Yes,
meant to say.
yes,
I was thinking 4, but I said 1.
Yeah.
You know, when you say something that you don't mean, one of those deals.
Yes.
Okay. Now, okay, we're going to continue on that. Where am I moving? Okay.
So page 6, Chair, if you will now reconvene as the North Clackamas Parks District, please.
There I am. We will now transition to the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District for the consent agenda item.
Yes, so the board is recessing now and convening as the Parks District. Christina, could you please read the consent agenda for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District?
Yes, there is only one item. It is to approve the Concord Master Plan Report and approve staff to work with the community and consultants to complete design and engineering for the Concord Community Center, Park, and NCPRD administrative offices.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Schrader and seconded by Commissioner Fisher. Do I hear any other discussions?
Yes, Chair, I do want to speak to this. Gary, I know that we're trying to comply with all the agreements, and I know that because of the District Advisory Board, District Advisory Committee being reformed and somewhat being non-existent at this point in time, that we can't really take all the steps and precautions or the steps that were prescribed in these agreements. So I appreciate our discussion on Tuesday. And if I recall correctly, if you could just confirm that there will be opportunities and efforts for the future DAC when it's formed to opine and advise on this project and be brought up to speed with the project going forward.
Yes, absolutely, Commissioner. Once the District Advisory Committee is formed, they will be fully involved with providing advice and feedback to staff and the Board of Directors, who are you, on further phases of this project. Yes.
Right. Thank you. I think it's very critical for people asking the question why this is being discussed is that in the absence of a board that has a responsibility to approve projects like this, they have not had that opportunity because they just don't exist. So this is just a glitch, and we're trying to adjust it in the future by giving them that opportunity in the future. So thank you, Gary, for your confirmation.
Yes.
And thank you, Paul, for doing due diligence on this and paying attention and moving forward on your leadership on this item. I will entertain a motion.
There has been a motion, so I think it's called. Yeah.
Thank you. I lost track of myself on the agenda. Christina, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader? Oh, you're on mute, Commissioner Schrader.
Again, aye.
Okay. Commissioner Shull?
Aye.
And Chair Smith?
Aye, passes. Thank you very much. This is the time in the meeting where I believe we're going to finish the censorship item, correct?
Actually,
I'm
Chair,
sorry.
if you would adjourn as the Parks District and reconvene as the County Commissioners, please.
Yes, I will. We will recess now and adjourn as the park districts. I will now call the meeting back to order, the Clackamas County Commission business meeting.
And Chair, with your permission, may I do the one quick item under my update because I have staff waiting, and then we can move on to the censor document?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Gary.
So under County Administrator update, this is noticed on the agenda there. And Christina, would you please bring Nancy Bush in the room? This is, Commissioners, your approval for an extension of CARES funding from the state of Oregon. This is timely, so it came on your agenda yesterday. It's due today. Seeking your approval today. Normally under the COVID emergency declaration, I am authorized to sign contracts or agreements on your behalf, which I will do when you don't meet, but since you're meeting and there was time, we're putting this on your agenda today. So Nancy, can you briefly explain what this is for the board's approval, please?
Yeah, thank you, Gary, and good morning, Commissioners. Yes, this is for our general CARES dollars that we have, which is around that $17.4 million that we got to from the state that we actually have to provide, or we have to spend it up front and then get reimbursement. So this is for the extension of those funds through the end of this fiscal year so that we can continue to draw those down. And it is limited to those funds. I think I heard someone earlier say there's a lot of CARES funding coming at us. There's a lot of CARES funds coming at us, but this is really limited to that particular funding stream.
Well, Nancy, thank you. And I'm glad a lot of CARES funding act is coming at us. And if we have to, if we're up a hard deadline, we need to make allowances for that to pass that. Commissioners, do we have any other comments or questions about this?
Well, Chair, thank you. I just want to make just build on the comments that it's unfortunate that we have not had, the monies as timely as some of the other larger jurisdictions that did have the 500,000 plus population that did get the monies directly, that were able to reply more promptly. and actually more substantially. So the amount of money that we have gotten is a pittance compared to our neighboring counties, especially when you look at a per capita basis. So it is with a little bit of pain, if you will, that our businesses had to wait so long to get any kind of help, and we've lost some that we weren't able to help in time, unfortunately. And I'm happy to move this forward, but I just want to just point that out that I just don't think, no fault of our staff, but that the state could have been a little bit more timely and a little bit more considerate of the remainder of the businesses and counties in the state of Oregon that didn't get those monies as timely as they should.
Thank you for those comments, Paul. Any other comments from commissioners? Seeing none, Christina, would you call the poll, please? Or have we had a motion?
No, that was been a point of order.
Yeah, I move for permission to extend the CARES Act funding award from the state of Oregon.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas has moved the motion. Commissioner Fisher has seconded that. Any other further discussion? Seeing none, Christina, now we can call for the poll.
Excellent. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader? You're on mute, Commissioner Schrader. I saw your mouth move though.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner Shull?
Aye.
And Chair Smith?
Aye, passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Gary.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm done now, Chair. Thank you. Back to you for the first item of business to continue that discussion. Chair.
Thank you, and thank you, commissioners. Stephen Madcore, you have emailed commissioners the documents that were requested. The resolution about censorship, and added to that was another resolution. I would like to entertain commission comments at this time. I have read those on my cell phone, so I didn't have to exit out of this screen. So I would like you all to take some time and don't be rushed.
So Chair, if I may?
Yes.
Yes, so commissioners, we did circulate a PDF version of the proposed resolution censoring newly elected Commissioner Mark Shull. It incorporates, in the third paragraph at this board's direction, it incorporates the 2015-96 resolution valuing diversity, equity, and inclusion in Clackamas County. So it incorporates that in full into this current resolution. This resolution is substantially similar to the one that I read verbatim to you earlier. It has a few minor grammatical changes, but the end result does two things. It censures your fellow Commissioner Shull for his conduct described in the resolution, and it also says it's in the best interest of the county that the commissioner resign his post effective immediately, and it has signature lines for Savas, Schrader, Fisher, and Chair Smith. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Comments from commissioners?
Thank you for taking the time and to attach that. And if that indeed is the latest, greatest version of our EDI resolution, then I'm okay. I thought there was a more recent one, but that's okay.
I don't want there to be confusion with that. There is a more recent resolution, and that concerns the condemning of violence and racism directed at Black, African Americans, and all people of color. That was done in the wake of the George Floyd death and the other civil disturbances. My understanding from your prior direction was that you were referring to the EDI resolution. So we only incorporated one.
Right. Okay. Thank you. If this is indeed the latest, most recent version of the EDI resolution, then great. And I do understand the distinction between the other document that we passed earlier last year, 2020. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commissions? As hearing none, I will entertain a motion to pass a resolution censoring fellow Commissioner Mark Shull.
Second.
Who made
Oh,
the,
I'll make the motion to, sorry, Chair.
it's all right.
I will make the motion to censure Mark Shull.
Second.
Commissioner Sonia Fisher has moved and Commissioner Paul Savas has seconded the motion. Any other discussion? Christina, would you take a poll, please?
Yes. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Shull?
Aye.
Commissioner and Chair Smith?
Aye, passes 5-1. Thank you.
5-0.
5-0. 5-0. Thank you, Paul, for that. It's a bit emotional. Yes. Gary, where are we?
All right, we are finally, the last item is Commissioner Communication.
Okay, who is up? Commissioner Shull, in the rotation, you are up first.
Chair Smith, fellow commissioners, Administrator Schmidt, and Councilor Madcore, I've heard and I understand the censorship resolution. And I will continue to work to carry out the will of the people of Clackamas County until such time that I've considered this resolution further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Shull. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, Chair Smith, it's been a very difficult, emotional week, a very difficult time, and I appreciate a number of the comments that have been made today. This is quite difficult, and I'm not going to speak much further about this, and I'm just hoping that we can repair as best we can and rebuild and convey to everyone in our county that this board, this county stands for equity, diversity, inclusion, and we will not tolerate comments that have been made and such as this or racism, and it's just so so difficult to be in this position. But I think that we're making a strong statement today. I think there's opportunity to learn from this. And I would really love to see some people come together to figure out ways that we can continue to educate ourselves. Because I, again, do not pretend to know or understand all the different cultures and how to be respectful and mindful of all those. So we continually learn. And I guess it's with sadness that we've had to endure what we've had to endure this week. And with that, I will conclude my comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chair Smith. I've been thinking for quite some time about what I wanted to say on our commissioner communications today, and my original thought before everything changed as of earlier this week was to celebrate our two new commissioners, their swearing in ceremony that was going to happen on Wednesday, and also to celebrate our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Office. I had the honor and the privilege of participating by webinar with Metro swearing in, and our Equity Officer, Martine, led off the opening remarks at that swearing in ceremony, and it was so inspiring to me to listen to. I was so proud also of Clackamas County and of our equity office and of the words that she said. And after the event, I text Kimberly my new policy advisor and said, "Oh, Kimberly, thank you so much for putting that on my calendar. I just am so inspired." So I'm not going to belabor the thoughts, but Martine quoted from Kim Belsch, the California Health and Human Services Cabinet Secretary, just a few words that really resonate. It's much longer. I really encourage you all to go through and listen to that swearing in ceremony, but I'll just highlight a couple quotes that really resonated with me. And this is from the California Health and Human Services Secretary, Kim Belsch. "Government is hard. In that respect, government is not for the faint of heart. Those of you who work in these jobs are often at the front lines, in the crosshairs, right in the center of these tensions and conflicts. You are the people who must bring clarity of purpose, a strong sense of self and character and resiliency to the spirit of your work. Government is for people who are resilient, compassionate, optimistic, and hopeful. Because notwithstanding the perils and pitfalls of this thing we call public service and the public sector, these are amazing jobs. And I want to say a word about that because it is important to remind ourselves of why we all do what we do. It is about possibility, the possibility to affect change." So I just took a couple things that's not in order of how that was quoted, but I was so moved by Metro swearing in, and I'm really sad that we didn't get our swearing in celebration this week, but we will move forward with our efforts at good governance on behalf of everyone who lives in Clackamas County. I am confident that we will meet the calling that we have been called to do. So thank you, Chair Smith. Thank you, commissioners. And with that, those conclude my comments for today.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, I would like to thank the veterans that testified today. I've worked very closely with the veterans community for years, and Governor Kulongoski had put me on his task force at the time because we were dealing with folks in the National Guard and other individuals who were being deployed to war zones and were not getting the appropriate welcome home treatment and welcome and not really getting what they need emotionally, because oftentimes people were in war zones one day and 2 days later they're off on the street. And it makes it very difficult for folks to return to normalcy after that. It's very, very hard. So I want to let all our veterans know I honor their service. I will honor Commissioner Shull's service. He did evidently do, from what I've heard, not only from his colleagues, but a conversation with him, significant community work, building the communities out there and working with the individuals. And oftentimes, I am not a medical health professional. I don't understand the comments, but I do know in war situations, a lot of our veterans will oftentimes disassociate. The people they are immediately working with were for the good of the community, and then a larger context. I am not apologizing for anyone. I am just really trying to remind people that as we move forward, there is often a larger context that the people that serve us are dealing with when they return home. I am supporting the censure because I know that it will hinder how we govern moving forward. But please remember humility, forgiveness, and please try to understand why I, having worked with some veterans, that it is not, it's not easy. It's painful. And oftentimes people will disconnect the people they're working with, and then we will have situations like this. But I just say that as someone who's trying to understand, not as someone who's trying to defend comments that have been hurtful to all of us and to our staff. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Martha, and thank you, commissioners. In closing, I want to say this one thing. On Monday, we celebrate a national holiday, and it's Martin Luther King's birthday. I remember growing up as a child, listening to him, and I was inspired by his many words. And unfortunately, he was taken from us too soon, in my opinion. I may have grown up in South Clackamas County, but I was very, very mindful of him, Bobby Kennedy, and then our president who was slain. At a very young age, at 6 years of age, I sat through President Kennedy's funeral. And that may have touched my heart and propelled me into public service to this day. And what I want to say to my fellow commissioners, whom I'm speaking to right now, and that is this. We are looking forward to a 4-day break from our duties. I'm asking, please, that we refrain from any other media comments or requests for interviews, because our resolution speaks for itself. I think it's very clear from the comments made at this business meeting today where all of us stand. The media can go back and glean those comments and quote from them. We do not need to continually fuel the fire on this issue. I think that shows uncommon restraint and discipline and the professionalism that I know we all have, because that's what I'm going to do. I want to thank all of you today for the hard work. Gary, thank you for leading us through all these meetings. And with that in mind, this meeting is adjourned.